أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. O Lord, we have wronged ourselves. If you do not show us guidance, we shall surely be lost. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Ameen. Go ahead, please.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we're gonna continue on the 19th Flash on frugality. And this is the author sharing his reflections on the verse, eat and drink, but waste not by excess, which is from the Quran, chapter 7, verse 31. And last time we did the first point. And this was an interesting take on how to understand, what frugality is and how to really take an aspect of this verse. What is our Lord telling us by this verse? Eat and drink, but waste not by excess. And in the first point, we discussed about all the bounties, whatever we are interacting with, they have a purpose, so we need to be in recognition of them. And thanks was a major part of it. And how frugality is tied to basically respecting the bounty, and wastefulness was something that was contrary to the being grateful and being thankful for the bounty. And we spoke a lot about, the different ways how, the bounty is profitable and how it can be beneficial to the individual. And there is some comment on the chat. Basically, there's Asifa is asking, I have a question from last week's discussion. Can I ask now or later? Yes, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So basically, I was reflecting from last week's discussion. What I had grasped and my understanding was, of course, we as a needy individuals, so we have been given bounties which are customized based on our needs. Now, when I was reflecting, the question arose within me was, so a person, when he's given those bounties and he's content with them, but then there's a moment that comes and he sees a bounty that he has not been given, his desire and want of it, does it make him not be frugal anymore? That was my question. I'm not too sure if it's clear enough, but that's what I meant to understand was, yes, the person is content and he's thankful for what he's been given from the absolute. But now he sees another bounty that he has not been given, wanting that and desiring that. Would that make him not be frugal? Thank you.
Oh, thank you for that wonderful question. I think, inshallah, we will be addressing that as well as we continue on reading. But on a high level, based on the question as was posed, so one person is grateful for whatever is given, and is being careful and acknowledging and thankful. That's what that means, being and using it for the purpose of what that bounty is, and then sees that there's something else, so there's a desire for something else, and maybe if that's a genuine need for the bounty, yeah, then one can, something that is necessary in terms of the person's need, yeah, they can pray for that. I don't think there's any harm for, and I don't think we should think of it as that going away from frugality, because as long as there is no wastefulness, there is no harm in asking for that. But I think we will, as we continue on, I think the concept of frugality will make it clear, all those kind of questions. So let's see if we have any volunteer who can maybe read the second point. Can we assign it to Mariam and Rayan? Are you guys available to read?
Yes.
Wonderful. So you will read from the second point, inshallah. If a little bit slowly, that would be great, so that we can follow along with you on the text. All right. You guys can start whenever you want.
Okay. Second point. The all-wise maker created the human body in the form of a wonderful palace and resembling a well-ordered city. The sense of taste in the mouth is like a doorkeeper, and the nerves and blood vessels like telephone and telegraph wires. They are the means by which the senses of taste communicates with the stomach, which is at the center of the body, and it informs it of the food that enters the mouth. If the body and stomach have no use for it, it says forbidden and expels it. And sometimes the food is harmful and bitter as well as not being beneficial for the body, and it spits it out immediately.
Thus, since the sense of taste is a doorkeeper, from the point of view of administering the body, the stomach is a master and a ruler. If the gifts arriving at the palace or city and those given to the palace's ruler are worth 100 liras, only 5 liras worth is appropriate for the doorkeeper in the form of a tip, lest he becomes conceited and is corrupted. Then, forgetting his duty, he lets revolutionaries into the palace who will give him a bigger tip.
In consequence of this mystery, we shall now imagine two mouthfuls. One consists of nutritious food like cheese and egg and costs 40 para, and the other is of the choicest pastries and costs 10 kurush. Before entering the mouth, there is no difference in these two mouthfuls. With respect to the body, they are equal, and after passing down the throat, they're still equal in nourishing the body. Indeed, 40 paras worth of cheese is sometimes more nutritious. Only in regard to pampering the sense of taste in the mouth, there's a half-minute difference. You can see from this whence a meaningless and harmful waste is it is to increase the cost from 40 para to 10 kurush for the sake of half a minute.
Now, although the gift arriving for the palace's ruler is worth 1 lira, to give the doorkeeper a tip 9 times bigger than his due will corrupt him. He will declare, I am the ruler, and will allow to enter whoever gives him the biggest tip and most pleasure. He will cause a revolution and conflagration to break out. Then he will compel them to cry out, Oh, call the doctor, and get him to put out this fire in my stomach and bring down my temperature.
Thus, frugality and contentment are in conformity with divine wisdom. They treat the sense of taste as a doorkeeper and give it its remuneration accordingly. As for wastefulness, since it is to act contrarily to wisdom, it swiftly receives its punishment, upsets the stomach, and causes real appetite to be lost, producing from the unnecessary variety of foods a false and artificial appetite. It causes indigestion and illness.
Thank you for this beautiful reading. It was very nice and slow as you guys read it. So let me see. Did you guys understand anything, Mariam and Rayan, on what he's saying? Like, for example, let's go to the first paragraph where he says, your human body in the form of a wonderful palace and resembling a well-ordered city. So I think it's something you can imagine, looking at your human body as things are functioning in your body. It's like, when, there's different parts of your body. You have your eyes, nose, your hands, your feet, your stomach, and their veins and blood and all sorts of things going on. And everything is functioning. The heart is pumping, your blood is, flowing through the veins. It's like a, traffic light city. All those things that are working. Your nose takes on the smell, and then when you eat food, your tongue takes a part space in that, and then it travels the food, whatever you chew on travels down certain pipes, and then it goes into the stomach. So once it reaches the stomach, initially your tongue tastes a few things, but then after you chew it, it just goes down, and then after you're full, at some point, it goes into waste, right? So there's a moment of interaction. It goes through the tongue. So yeah, I see your guys have your hands up. So let's hear from you.
So I wanted to say how I wanted to give the example how it said in the second page. It said that the stomach is the ruler, and that to me it relates to the phone example Ryan gave yesterday, because it's like something's controlling you, and for the stomach it's giving you all sorts of delicious stuff for you to enjoy.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. So we will get to that. So going back to, okay, so I think we understand that the human body, we see that is functioning, nerves and blood vessels like telephone and telegraph wires, means for taste communicates with the stomach, and then it forms it. So every part of the body has a particular function, which it is doing. Right, and the communication is amazingly precise. Everything is working in harmony perfectly. If you overeat, then your stomach tells you, hey, knock knock, just I can't have more than that. This is enough food for me. Right, and if you eat something, that's not tasty, it's like disgusting, and you throw out immediately. So the body is amazingly set in working in such a way that everything works in a way that is beneficial for you. All right, so that's what the analogy the author starts with. And the second one you were saying about the stomach being the ruler. Yeah, so that is like an example. So for example, it says, the sense of taste is like a doorkeeper. So based on whatever you put in your mouth, the taste gets a part of it, and then the rest goes into the stomach. So basically everything is being, whatever your body you're taking in goes and serves the stomach. So that's why the stomach can be seen as like a master or a ruler in the example. If the gifts arriving at the palace or city and those given to the palace's ruler are worth, so these are some currencies that I think are translated from Turkish. So we can say, dollars, for example, $100 and $5 is worth for the doorkeeper as a tip. So the actual bounty or whatever you're eating, for example, let's say it's worth $100 and $5 goes as a tip to the tongue. So this analogy is an example in terms of how little part that your tongue is exposed to, where the actual, after chewing it and everything, it goes inside the body and stays there for much longer. So the tongue only gets to participate for a short amount of time. Okay, so there is some comment. Let's see. So Mariam and Rayan say, so the stomach is like a ruler, so it gives you your needs for you to give comfort to yourself and take care of yourself. Yeah, because when you feel hungry, the sense of hunger comes to you, your stomach starts giving you signals, it growls, it says, hey, Asim, go and get something to eat because you are really hungry. So yeah, so in that sense, it does, take care of your, it signals to you what your needs are. And it works in that way. Now, so the tongue has its particular role to play in the whole system of the human body, right? Just like, and everything that the tongue does is it gets the taste, as we all know. And going on to the next paragraph, which I think has something there which I feel we need to discuss a little bit more. Now the author's talking about foods like cheese and eggs, which are relatively lower priced, let's say cheaper, than buying some fancy or some prepackaged kind of food items. And they cost more. So let's say, if you go to the supermarket, for example, you can buy the raw vegetables, or there are packages where they cut the vegetables, they prepare everything for you, and then they price it 5 times higher than the vegetables you get that are raw, and you can just pick them up and cut them yourself. So you see this happening right now. So in terms of the nutrition, the author's saying, hey, from the cheese and the eggs that you eat, so you can boil the eggs and then you can eat the cheese with that. So the nutrition you get is about almost the same. Before entering the mouth, there's no difference. With respect to the body, they are equal, right? So the fancy pastries and the simple cheese and eggs, in terms of mouthful, there's no difference. But after it goes down the throat, right? After you get the taste and it goes down the throat, then so they are still equal in. So the stomach they're providing the same nourishment, right? Because if you get the pre-cut vegetables and if you get the raw vegetables and wash it and cut it yourself, you get the same. They're equal in the same nourishment. You're getting the same nourishment. So now he's saying in this example, because of the pastries are a little fancier in regard to pampering the sense of taste in the mouth. So there is a half-minute difference. You can see from this what a meaningless and harmful waste it is to increase the cost from a few cents to several dollars for just a half minute of pleasure to the taste by eating that pastry. It's also possible that pastry has gone through some processing, and which is why he says also that the cheese, and the eggs are sometimes more nutritious because, you lose some of the benefits when the processing happens, which is very common right now in the civilization. Everything comes prepackaged, and processed food is dominant in the industry. And the marketers are amazing in terms of putting labels on that they are healthy, and they price them ridiculously high now, whereas you can live a very good same nutrition you can get from buying in raw packages, like getting the fresh vegetables and pulses and just cook things yourself, versus if you also the going off to restaurants also, I think, comes in this, because when you go to restaurants, you are paying a lot of money compared to the nutrition you get, versus if you cook at home in this less amount of cost, you can get that nutrition as well. So it's only for the experience that you are, maybe it's 1 hour of experience in the restaurant sitting together, or it's for a few minutes of taste in your taste buds, that you are really spending your time, and then you're making your money, you're spending your money just for those few minutes of moments, which are transient, which go away anyway. Because at the end, you just need your stomach to be satisfied, and you need to be, you need to get the nutrition out of it. So my friend here wants to speak on that. So let's hear from my dear friend. Go ahead.
Thank you for this reflection, and Miriam and Rayan for sharing also your comment. I was thinking a little more on it in terms of really what makes my stomach the ruler. And Miriam pointed it out clearly that in terms of, how things get processed, stomach seems to be like the, central point within my whole human body where everything gets processed. So yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. And also I was listening to the comment and reflections right now as far as what the author is sharing with the cost analysis of products produced that we do on a daily basis. And I mean, I'm thinking right now, like, okay, what's new here? Because frugality, frugal lifestyle, everybody, especially, I don't know, most people now in this generation are millennials. They have adapted this frugal lifestyle in terms of, I'm not gonna waste this. I'm gonna follow the zero waste revolution, just making sure I don't have that much garbage I'm throwing in. I'm gonna save some money, by packing my own lunch. And why go to XYZ organic store where I can get organic produce if I just drive, a little few miles away here, and I can get stuff, I can get the same produce, organic stuff at the same price. So, even the way the civilization is set up, people do make those choices, right? It's a given, you want to save money for something, then people, obviously you adapt your lifestyle accordingly. And so the author seems like it's walking us through this whole journey of, maybe go more into the details of things. Why would you go on and make certain choices? Why would I, just like my friend was pointing out here, buying raw stuff as opposed to getting something that is, prepackaged, ready-made, and I just make it. And, the part that Hamim highlighted, where only in regard to pampering the sense of taste in the mouth, there is a half-minute difference. And so I was thinking, okay, well, why is the author sharing all this with me? And I don't know, I would be open and really looking forward to hearing others' take on this. But I'm also thinking in terms of there's a half-minute difference, as in, half-minute of labor. So I'll have to, now wash the vegetables, cut them, and it's going to take me half an hour, as opposed to getting instant gratification. Just get this, warm it up, and voila, stomach, you're satisfied now, right? Rather than this, I have choices I can make. So let me allot 30 minutes of my time during the day. I'll save some money. I would know what I'm putting in my stomach, and just do a little cooking on my own, and I get things done. It's just the same thing, the same experience is going on within my physical body, where the stomach is the ruler. I'm just putting stuff in, and things are getting processed, and everything else is the same. It's just like the half-minute difference is really me making a choice of allotting 30 minutes of my time to do something extra, and then saving money. So this is what my take is so far, and let's see what y'all have to say.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And to add to that, as you said about the lifestyle, basically you can just extend this not just for food items. You can also see how your choices in life are, even your time, how one spends their time. In terms of how careful they are. I mean, if one can also pamper with mindless activities their time, and really, that is we have to see, is this waste, or is this being thankful to the time or the bounty that we are being given. So every moment is also a bounty for us that we have to be grateful for. And so are we making use of that for its purpose? Because everything that's just the tongue has its purpose, the stomach has its purpose. So our time must have its purpose, or all our body tools, everything must have their purpose. Right? So even the decisions that we make in terms of, for our settings, are we going extra mile to some things that we may not necessarily need? Are we influenced by maybe some advertisements or some artificial things that are there, that are being promoted, say, hey, you need this, but really as a human being, do I need those things? So all those things come into play.
It's a good point.
So I will pause here and see if anybody would like to say anything. And I see a hand from Sohail Dar. So please, Sohail, go ahead.
I want to go back to the verse he quotes, which I think is very important. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, eat and drink, but waste not by excess. And to me, sort of the important aspect of this, kind of what was talked about already today and last week. To me, what sort of is the context of all the, and I'm not, sure if he mentions this somewhere else, or because I think I read this in the past, but to me, the most important aspect of this is who is speaking in this verse. So if you look at the verse, eat and drink, it's a sort of, in a way, divine command. And it's not like that divine command is saying, it's not like your parents saying you need to eat. It's, as people have already said, the divine command's already sort of imprinted within you. You know when to eat and drink, because how you're made is to know when you require food in order to sort of feel nourished and to continue to live. Otherwise, if you sort of deny that divine command, you wither away and potentially die. So that's obvious to man. The most important thing, though, is recognizing that where does that command proceed from? So the issue is, you know, I can be aware that I need to eat and drink to live and make choices, let's say, about what I should be eating and drinking. You know, maybe I'm like an example, like I always go to, like maybe I'm sort of lifting weights or, you know, bodybuilding, going to the gym, and like I'm aware of what I need to eat and drink. But that in and of itself is sort of meaningless because it doesn't acknowledge the fact that you only eat and drink because the command is within you to do so. Like, where are you getting the sort of sense about eating and drinking? So, being aware that what you're doing is in relation to who gave you that sense of wanting to eat and drink and wanting to eat healthy. You know, like my experience, people who even eat hunt healthy, they still want to eat healthy, even though they don't exercise the choice to do so. They still want to, and by and large, most of the time, my experience. The question is, where is that command coming from? It's not coming from within the self in and of itself, but it's coming from beyond man himself, from his, you know, creator of the whole universe, who's the one that provided the options before him in terms of eating and drinking, and he has to make that choice. So when one realizes that, then, like, at least in the second point, if 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 you ignore that, then really you think that command comes from within you. So if your taste buds say, let's eat whatever I want because I feel some sort of, you know, momentary pleasure from something, then it will do whatever it wishes to do. Um, or even for that matter, if you think I'm going to eat healthy, even then, you still don't acknowledge the fact that your wanting to eat healthy doesn't come from within yourself. So, and then the second half of the verse, but waste not by excess. You know, excess, you know, to me being at least in the second point, do not do not give something more than its due or what it's made for. So if you treat the tongue with excess, then you sort of lose potentially the awareness that you are being provided for. So if you think the tongue needs to be satisfied more than its due share, as he points out, then your eating and drinking is not in relation or is not in sort of awareness of your creator. There's no sort of vertical relationship. You become in a way, I don't know if it's the best analogy, but you become an animal in a sense, in the sense that you are just eating and drinking because that's what you do as a human being. Nothing pertaining to God at all whatsoever. Um, so, and on the opposite side, you know, even if you think, you know, I'm going to eat and drink healthy because I want to have a healthy lifestyle, um, but waste not by excess. Um, you know, in a sense, you are you are treating yourself in excess. You are saying, you know, the quality of wanting to be healthy comes from myself, nothing to do with being given. So you are being excessive in that regard as well. So the only way you can avoid excess is to sort of acknowledge that um, you've been made to desire sustenance, to seek sustenance, and the one who made you to desire sustenance has already shown you what is the best way to eat and drink because it's already sort of programmed within you. And by not being excessive do you recognize him. Otherwise, if if you recognize excess in whatever respect, whether it's to gratify this tongue or to even gratify your own sort of sense of being healthy, there's no God in the equation. It's in the end, I'm not saying that doesn't matter, but it's not, you don't really complete the equation. You haven't, closed the loop as to what is the point of eating and drinking at all.
Thank you, Suhail, for adding that. I really liked how you connected it to the verse. In recognition is very important in everything. What also we discussed also that in the first point, where the example of the doctor was given, and he prescribes for the benefit of the patient something, and we need to follow what the advice of the doctor is. So the same thing, and that was an analogy that was used, and here also. So whatever bounty that is being given to you, there has to be that recognition. That bounty is not just there by itself, where it's not just coming there, or it's not the sense of eating healthy, as you mentioned, it's not coming from within you, but you are made that way, and there, your Lord, whoever made you, your body and your senses has given you the sense, to not like waste. It doesn't feel good to waste something. I mean, I don't feel good at all if something gets rotten or wasted. I say, oh, I should have eaten this, before it. Maybe I bought too many of those, or so. That's why there is this recognition part is important, and that's how we are programmed in that way. Appreciate that. And I see you have your hand up again, so let's hear from you again.
One more thing. I think somebody brought up last week about the prophet saying, eat till a third. You shouldn't eat more than a third is solid, a third is liquid, and a third is air. Also read that he would not eat till he was full, or in other words, that he didn't experience hunger. And to me, that it's not to do with really about he's telling you how much to eat for the sake of how much to eat, but it's sort of, this is just my opinion, but how I interpret prophecy. But he's saying that so you don't become excessive. In other words, you don't forget what is the point of eating and drinking. That you still maintain that relationship with your creators. You're still in awareness and sort of thankfulness and appreciation. And if you always experience a bit of hunger, or the quote unquote pain of hunger, you don't lose that appreciation. But if you're excessive in appetite, it's easy to forget. Because if you're, let's say, on the extreme, constantly full, so to speak, what is there to remember? There's nothing. The only thing to remember is the food. Nothing more than that, if you think about it. The only thing you remember is to eat, but nothing beyond eating and drinking whatsoever. What does it actually mean? So to me, that's a very important point. And with a lot of, practically speaking, a lot of processed food that you can go get from a store. And, Ali remember brought this up last week, obesity is so rampant. It's because it makes you forget. It sort of satisfies the tongue. And so you are more interested in eating and drinking than actually what it pertains to. And that reflects in the fact that you keep eating and drinking because that's what you think is really the essential nature of man, is to eat and drink, but not from where did you get that quality of wanting to do so. And if you knew that, it's almost as if the verse is saying, like, if you knew where that was coming from, like how, like as a where that command proceeded from your Lord, you would it would be, if you were honest with yourself, you couldn't be excessive. Like it's almost like the second half of the verse is like is a uh, inevitable conclusion. Like you can't avoid being in excess, because if you did recognize eating and drinking as the sustenance and the quality to be wanting to be sustained and nourished, that sort of means that you couldn't be excessive. It's the opposite of being excessive. It's being frugal. You can't separate the two, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Suhail. There's a hand up next to me, so please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your comments, because now I'm looking into the verse, and the verse is amazing. Actually, if we think more on it, it's like a formula. It's giving us a formula of the human journey here, because you know how everything is witnessed by the human being. Yes, I'm given hunger, I'm given thirst, and I indulge in food and anything, right, for sustenance. And so really one should be mindful, and I think most of us pointed out about, like, what's the point of doing that which I'm doing. So going back to, like, very practical example, what's the point of eating and drinking? So it's really the recognition. That's the whole point of anything that I do in my existence here. Recognition of what's bringing me into existence, what's bringing my needs into existence, and what is satisfying these needs. Otherwise, if you ponder more over, but waste not by excess, would be like, if I get lost in creation itself, if I get lost with what the universe has to offer me, then I'm at lost. So I mean, again, the food being a very practical example, if I do indulge or eat and, I'm just like getting lost, yummy, delicious, right? Keep going, going, going. So I will lose, the point or the purpose for being given hunger and being given my needs, and then recognizing the one that satisfies these needs. So yeah, this is like exciting. It's like a formula. The recognition part must be applied at all times, and it is within us. It's just that we need to be more watchful, to be reading ourselves carefully. So that was my excitement. Thank you for sharing. Somebody has their hand up.
Perfect, Suhail, go ahead.
Yeah, Freya brought up the verse. Just one quick thing. My experience reading the Quran, like when it frequently uses the conjunction wa, like it like translated as and typically, but to me, this is me, I often, when I read the Quran, like I often translate it as and therefore, like as if and therefore this and therefore that, like A leads to B leads to C. So the verse reads, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وكلوا, so and eat, واشربوا, and drink, so and ولا تسرفوا, and do not be in excess. Like it's wa, like they're all interlinked together. So in other words, if you're going to eat, it's inevitable that you're going to drink. And if you are aware that the way in which you are made, like the divine command is in such that a way that you have to eat if you're hungry, if you want to keep living, and also drinking, therefore. And if you're aware of that also, you would not be in excess. Wala tusrifu. It's like it's an obvious sequence. So long as you're sort of mindful about, who is the one speaking here, and when you want to eat, the command of kulu is already within you, but being mindful of who's the one that put that command there for you to eat and drink. And then being not in excess becomes an obvious sort of conclusion as well.
Yeah, thank you, Sohail. So is there anybody else who wants to comment or has any question? We can take that. Beza, go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Really nothing new, but just going to rephrase things a little bit differently in my mind. I guess then for me, frugality is not necessarily just using as much as I need. So I may be just, with, perhaps the millennial mindset of like using things minimally and eating healthy and taking care of myself, etc., in a balanced way. As been said, that's the divine command already written within me. I can still act in accordance with that, but still not be acting frugally or with frugality. So likewise, then the profit or the bounty that I get is not necessarily the fact that, I eat one apple and not 4, like the 3 apples are not then what is, not consumed in excess or what is profitable to me, but rather, as has been said, the fact that I, in acting, like this entire second point, it's pretty clear, like the author is just going into so much detail about just following, like there's this command within me following the order of the universe, but it's not just following the order of the universe because my body tells me when to, do something or when to stop doing something, but requiring that sense of consciousness that not only are the bounties themselves given, but the indicator within me is also given as well. And so this frugalness being recognizing the source of the bounty and recognizing the source of the indicator within myself. And when it says frugality and contentment are in conformity with divine wisdom, this divine wisdom then looks to me recognizing that not only am I made in such a way and that I should be acting in a certain way with, within particular limits, but it pulls me to the consciousness of this reality that I have been placed in this position, and that as I act with this reality and hopefully consciousness, I am also then therefore conscious of my reality that I am being taken care of. Then those things become a bounty for me. With like, I guess everything is tied together, but all together. So it's a really beautiful way of just like, as was said, like closing the loop.
Thank you, Beza, for that comment. And there is a hand up from Sohail. Sohail, go ahead.
I know I keep talking here, but to go to what Beza was saying about, closing the loop, at the end of the verse, Nursi doesn't quote it, but it's, إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. So indeed it is he who does not love the ones who are in excess, or the ones who commit excess. In a sense, again, that's already within oneself to know that. In other words, to me, he's only stating what man already knows, but just making it obvious. In other words, man knows when he's being in excess and he doesn't love it. that's how he knows his Lord doesn't love it, because it's already within him to know. As Norsi points out in the second point, the stomach becomes upset or ill. So it's already in man to know he doesn't love that state. It's not something external. It's already there, and it all, as Khadija was pointing out, it all comes back to being aware and conscious of how you're made. That's very, very important, and to me, sort of the most important aspect of this discussion. And then everything else becomes, at least to me, pretty obvious and manageable. Otherwise, you have to, quote unquote, fight yourself or work against yourself, rather than, this is, I guess this is Norsi's methodology, but handing over whatever sort of need and desire you have, and handing it back over to the creator of the universe. And I think that's quite important here.
Thank you, Sohail. And yeah, don't be shy. You can keep contributing. Alhamdulillah, that's helpful and beneficial to everyone. Yeah, so basically in the second point, the last two paragraphs, I think, as everybody was commenting, we can summarize it a little bit. So the phrase in the last paragraph, frugality and contentment are in conformity with divine wisdom. So that is the essence of what, being frugal. And there was a formula that Fariha put on the chat, which says the opposite of excess equals being frugal. So when you're not frugal, there is excess and there is waste, and that is contrary to what divine wisdom, meaning that is contrary to the way your Lord wants you to be. It's contrary to the way, the way the creation and the existence is demonstrating, and contrary to the will of your Lord. So being frugal is being mindful of your Lord, being aware that everything is coming from him, and to be grateful and thanking him, and treating everything, for like the tongue or the taste buds, your stomach, for the purpose that is meant for, which is in order to recognize and being thankful to your source of existence. So I will pause here again to see if there's any questions or comments on the second point. So I have a hand up here next to me. Please go ahead.
There's someone on the chat. Okay. It's interesting how this concept of frugality and contentment, they go together hand in hand. So really, if one were us to ponder more over their human reality, the way they're made. So frugality seems to be the lifestyle that I'm born with, right? It's the fitri state, or the innate human factory settings. Yeah, thank you. That the human being is born with. And so if I maintain that factory setting that I'm born with, then I'll be able to be receive or experience the contentment and gratification that comes with this make, not spoiling it. And even though if I may go a little haywire here and there, and like everyone pointed out, then within me, I have this criteria or signals that comes to me that, oh, you're, watch out, right? Come back to how things are supposed to be. And so that's also beautiful, like this whole make, within the human being, but really maintaining this state of frugality leads to contentment, because that is it. because otherwise, if we go into excess of anything, then one won't be experiencing or feeling contentment at all. It's just like overflowing water right in the cup, and you can't even hold it or anything. So it's amazing. I mean, it's interesting how the author is summarizing frugality and contentment as being they're in conformity with divine wisdom. Thank you. Oh,
Right, and with the overflowing cup example, because if you have excess of everything, it's hard to recognize where all that is coming from, since you always have it. We can start taking things for granted. Hey, I have too much of it, so you can. It becomes harder to actually be grateful and recognizing who your Lord is. So must be a balance has to be maintained, and that's how the order in creation is. And I see a hand up from Brother Ali. Please go ahead.
Beautiful and very satisfactory explanations. I felt nothing to add, but when I concentrated on the subject, I noticed that there is a missing word in the translation. The highlighted sentence here, part of the sentence, which says, frugality and contentment are in conformity with divine wisdom. The original text, although this sentence, as it stands here, sounds correct, makes sense, but the original text says it's interesting, changes and expands the meaning a lot, which H. Beza tried to point out a little, point out this aspect of the subject. We are not here studying really the ultimate purpose of the text altogether, not only the text we read today, all the texts that were about 19th Flash, is not about using ourselves, using the universe, a lot or a little, which is also related to Asifa's question, which is still waiting, suspending actually, to be answered. I would like to hear her question again and close the subject of the text we read. So the original text says, frugality and contentment are acting, it is missing, acting in conformity with divine wisdom. So this word, acting in conformity with divine wisdom, says a lot. Why? Because I have to act in conformity with divine wisdom in my treatment of my feelings, in my treatment of the universe. Divine wisdom, acting in conformity with divine wisdom, tells me that what is the purpose in the existence of the thing, so that I will act according to that purpose. The examples, very practical, common examples about food, just lets me understand how the divine wisdom works in the universe. For example, instead of following the wisdom which is given to me also by my creator, but if I appoint the tongue as its function is to be only doorkeeper, it means what is useful for me, what is not useful for me. But if I appoint the the doorkeeper tongue as the commander-in-chief. It means decides what to do. So it follows only momentary pleasure. Momentary pleasure may be related to food, what I get, what kind of pleasure I get from the food means taste, rather than what is needed by my body. It is just an example, just an example. The wisdom in the creation of the food is not only to feed my body, but also help me understand that I am being served, help me understand that they are created by a one who knows my need and he wants to introduce himself to me. There are many other purposes in the creation of the food. But if I appoint the tongue, misreplace its position from doorkeeper to decision maker. Now, if the tongue is the decision maker or becomes the decision maker, I follow its momentary pleasure and forget about the purpose in the purpose, the wisdom in the creation of the food. That misleads me to being going into excess. It means wastefulness. So this understanding makes me go back to the structure of this verse, which is the head of this subject, which the subject is actually what we are reading, the commentary on the verse. In fact, although Suhail pointed out the importance of wa, it means and in the Quranic language. The Quran, the verse says, eat and drink. Yeah, the first wa, it means and, is additions. Do want to utilize this verse. Wala tusrifu, the second end is not like an addition. It is while you are not wasting by excess. Going excess means not being frugal. That means not acting according to the wisdom in the creation of the objects that you are utilizing. So the translation should be appropriately eat and drink while not wasting by excess. It means acting in conformity with the wisdom in the creation of the things, everything in general, not only food. Whatever we use, for example, we are, by very interesting hadith narrations, advice of the Prophet, narration says, even if, it's extremely interesting, by the ocean, by the sea, and making wudu, it means really purification, ritualistic purification. It's a good purpose. Don't use in excess. Why? When I use the water, it goes back to the sea. What do you mean by not using in excess? A lot. It means more than what the water is created for you. Water is created here to be used in order to perform this ritualistic purification. Use it for this purpose as far as your action is concerned. Now, if you use a lot, it means you miss the point in what you are doing. You are just unconsciously trying to satisfy, gratify your momentary pleasure, just feeling comfortable about it, rather than thinking of the purpose of the water and what am I going to do with it? Acting in a frugal way, purposeful way, following the wisdom in the creation of the thing. That is what I see the conclusion of the second point, and the meaning of the verse, how they are compatible with each other, and how we should understand the verse. I will repeat how the verse should be translated exactly to in order to fulfill the purpose of the revelation. It means purpose of this verse is not don't eat a lot. It is not the point. It doesn't mean that we should eat a lot. No, it is not the ultimate point. It is not the general purpose of the verse. So use the universe. Eat and drink means everything. Use the universe, but never use them by going into excess. It means never use them in a way which is not appropriate to the wisdom in their creation. Always use it according to the wisdom in their creation. Even it is about the amount. Again, according to the wisdom that your body needs, eat that much. That is one side. But human beings do not consist of body, stomach only. We have mind, we have feelings, we have intellect, we have consciousness. So use it, use everything freely. They are all created for you, for your service, given to your service. Benefit from them, but never ever forget that the purpose of existence must be respected by your physical need, by your intellectual need, by your emotional need, by your consciousness. What your consciousness needs. Questions, intellect questions. What is the purpose in eating, drinking, and using the material thing aspect of this word? It means using them as matter, not message bearers to you from their creator, and dying at the end. This cannot be the purpose of my existence. For example, intellect rebels this understanding. Consciousness really gets angry with it, said, no, it can't be. It shouldn't be. I'm mixed with many things here, but we have to bear in mind that the last sentence exactly sheds light on the meaning of how the verse should be understood. The first line of the last sentence. Frugality and contentment are acting in conformity with divine wisdom. Is there anyone among us that there are some people, they can understand that what I am saying in its original language. Anyway, it is Turkish. Not many people understand Turkish here. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. This was great. I have a question now. It's interesting the way you put things up now, because drawing our attention to this last paragraph, the sentence, frugality and contentment are acting in conformity with divine wisdom. So yeah, definitely things are not about just created things in the universe. Just within myself, I have like all these endless feelings, emotions. And I was thinking also in terms of, like you said, the point is not the limiting the, you know, the quantity side of it, but it's really questioning what's the purpose in its existence. And so now I'm thinking about, like, because the human being is made of emotions, feelings, and if we bring this down to our emotions and feelings, I sometimes have no control over the emotions that are imparted onto us. I mean, you know, that's how we find ourselves with. So that's where I was thinking in terms of drawing the line. Is that what the author is teaching us as well? How to maybe utilize these feelings and emotions for its true purpose. I mean, it's easy to do with some feelings and emotions, but sometimes like the feeling of anger or being upset at something, that's just like way out of control sometimes. Like, even though one may not be expressing it out, you know, physically, but, you know, within themselves, just being upset at something, like an event, it may take, you know, a couple of days to, you know, calm down, but like having this constant dialogue between oneself and, you know, just going back and forth, like, you know, why am I, you know, you know, being angry at this? Like, what is it? Is it that? Is it she? Is it, you know, me? What did I do wrong? You know, like you can keep going on. So I was also thinking that, is this what this frugality and contentment formula needs to be applied to? And when I say formula, I really mean like really questioning the purpose of the existence of anything, which, like with feelings, it's easily done. Like you're feeling love, compassion, that's easily done because you then connect it back to the source of existence of it. But like other kind of feelings, it's a little rough. I think I personally am not frugal in that part. I mean, within myself, like you know, it can prolong for a long time until I reconcile it within myself. So I don't know, just wondering about it, throwing this question out there on how to utilize, how do I apply frugality and contentment, or how do I act in conformity with divine wisdom when I am in such a state of being, like in a state of agitation. Thank you.
All right, Brother Ali, please go ahead. Brother Ali, you're muted. You can unmute and go ahead, please.
Yeah. Now, it's a very practical, very legitimate question, very human. So I appreciate the question. I believe that none of the human feelings are to be rejected, but to be used according to the wisdom in their creation. For example, I have a feeling, as Feriha pointed out, anger. Yes, I need it, but I should use it according to, within the limits of its creation. It means within the limits of the wisdom in its creation. I need to be angry with if there is an injustice going on. I need to react it. So feeling of denial. Yes, I have to deny what is wrong according to the creation again. Whatever, for example, the pain. Yes, I have to feel pain so that I will run away from it. Nothing which seems to be negative to us, in fact, in their creation without wisdom. But as the example we read today, the purpose of the tongue in its creation is to be the doorkeeper. It means allow the useful things for the body, do not allow the harmful things for the body. But if I misappoint him in a wrong position, then it follows momentary pleasure rather than doing its real job in its creation. The wisdom of the tongue must be respected, but should not be appointed according to the wisdom in its creation. That is why I have to question the wisdom in the existence of my feelings. It's a beautiful example that we read today. I have to question, why do I think that the tongue should have been created in order to fulfill the purpose of my existence? So I have to question, and I need to see the wisdom in its creation and use it accordingly. Now, I don't know whether this answers the question, although somebody attracted my attention in the chat box. Somebody asked what was the question. Maybe Feriha can write it or one sentence or a short sentence what the question really was. Well, I tried to understand the question and presented my answer. Of course, still, Asfa's question is suspended, waiting for an answer. That depends on the moderator, how he is going to deal it. Thank you.
So thank you for this. I'm still thinking about your answer. It hasn't been satisfactory. Perhaps I need to do a little more thinking on it. But yeah, Mariam, my question was about human feelings. Sometimes we're given various feelings where, like a feeling of anger, for example, where I can feel agitated, unhappy or sad with something that may have happened. So how do I go on about reconciling this feeling within me in a more, effective way as to fulfill the purpose of my existence? Reconciling means, how can I come to terms in a friendly way? How can I solve this feeling within me? So for example, with happiness, love, compassion. So if I feel compassion towards someone, then I can question, what is the source of existence of this feeling? Is it coming from the brownies that my friend made for me? No, it's the source of my existence is the provider of this event for me, where I'm experiencing happiness and compassion, right? But we also are given other feelings where we experience anger, maybe somebody just threw my bike away. It was standing nice outside, and then they just like throw it out, and I see it on the street, and that would upset me because that's the only means of transportation I have. And so, just trying to solve this problem of, anger that rages in me within myself. Like, how can I was thinking, would be the best solution to solve this agitation within me in a way where that fulfills the purpose of my existence, where I can connect this event, the feelings that are imparted onto me, to its source of existence. Does that hopefully answer the question? I see you have your hand up. Miriam, go ahead, please.
So what you're asking is if you're angry or if you feel a negative feeling, how you can use that to connect with your creator?
You got it. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. I need a minute to think about it, but inshallah, I will try to answer it a bit later.
Oh, looking forward to it. Inshallah. Thank you.
All right, perfect. So I think it's the time to go to Asfa's question. Asfa, do you want to ask it also while we're thinking about the other question?
Sure. After listening to what Brother Ali had said, I was kind of understanding. So let me go back to my questions. My question basically was, a person being content with the bounties he has been given according to his needs. He's content with that. There's a moment basically when he realizes that there's a certain bounty he does not have, and him wanting or desiring that bounty, would that make him ungrateful or not frugal? Now, from what Brother Ali had said, I was trying to make my own self understand that. So a person needs to basically use divine wisdom, which would be, to me, what I'm understanding is, so that person needs to be conscious every single moment. So when he's using the bounty, he needs to understand what he's needing it for and why he has been provided that. And if he is conscious every single moment, he is using this wisdom, which will not take him out of frugality. Yes, so that's what my understanding. That has answered sort of my question, but I'm not sure. If somebody wants to add something to that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Asifa, for asking that. So, Brother Ali, please go ahead.
I think Asfa somehow answers to her question herself. Just we have to look at everything in their creation, see the wisdom in their creation. So, of course, we have to prepare ourselves that the universe must have been created by a conscious being for a purpose. That is the first requirement. But the subject is frugality. So we assume that the author assumes that we have already established that the universe has an owner and he's a conscious being and he does everything for a purpose. These are, as far as the content of the subject is concerned, taken for granted. We agreed on it. So how am I going to treat this universe as it has been created by a conscious being for a purpose? So I have to always question the purpose. For example, I am given senses to want something. Sometimes they are given to me, correct? And think about it. Why are they given to me? There is a purpose. There must be a purpose. Sometimes they are not given to me. Then again, rather than criticizing, rather than feeling disappointed, that is, if I feel disappointed, I am wasting this sense which is given to me, I am being disappointed, I'm misusing it, wasting it. No, I will feel disappointed and immediately turn the disappointment into, it is not given to me by a conscious being. And what the purpose in their not being to me can be. Question it. So you will understand, and everybody will understand, that the purpose is the purpose in not given to me. It means I'm not having it. There must be a wisdom in it. I understand that I cannot make an order to my creator. I can make a request, but the request may be accepted, may not be accepted by the creator. Most of the time they are accepted, but sometimes they are not. Think about it. Why are they not sometimes fulfilled, given? Why? I understand that the creator needs to be acknowledged. I am not the creator. If, let's assume, if whatever I need and I ask is given to me, don't you think that I will turn this into God is my servant. He must serve me. But in fact, God is serving me for a purpose within wisdom, serving me in order to help me to fulfill the purpose of my existence. What is the purpose of my existence? To acknowledge that I am not the owner of the universe. I cannot guarantee everything by myself. I have a Lord, I have an owner. He is the decision maker. I am not the decision maker. It means he is my Lord, I am his worshiper, acknowledger. This relationship needs to be established so that I will know the purpose in my existence, to acknowledge the creator and act accordingly. It means I have to worship him. Even my request must be a means of expressing my worship to him. My worship is a means. Please, I need you. I want this. Please, you decide to give it to me. If he doesn't, I will understand that, oh, I am not the decision maker. He is the decision maker. Otherwise, I cannot fulfill the purpose of my existence. I will declare my kingdom in the world. Everything what I want, can you imagine if everything what I want is given to me or was given to me? I would want the whole world to obey me, because my feelings have no end. I will go into excess and declare myself as the king of the earth. And everybody will be in the same position. Everybody wants to be the king of this world. So I have to understand that this desire has a purpose. In order to understand that I cannot be the king of the universe. I am only a created being subject to the will of my creator. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ali. And there's a comment also from Asa, which is in ties to how you were explaining it, recognizing my position and seeing that who is the owner of the universe and who is the master planner who owns this, the one who plans this universe. And so there is I know we're almost over time, but Mariam, your hand is up. So we would like to hear from you and your notes, please. Go ahead.
Okay, so because we're flip-flopping topics a bit, I just want to restate what I was going to do. So Fariha's question was, how do you use negative feelings to connect with your creator? And I have a bit of an answer about that. If it's not enough, you can tell me and I'll try to think more about it. And inshallah, next week, I'll add a bit more onto it. But so far, what I think that you can connect with is that we don't enjoy negativity. And as Alida said, not in his recent comment, but a bit the comment before the comment he just made, he said that we ran away from negativity. And so with using negative feelings, you can understand what you should and should not do. Like, we don't enjoy sadness, and so Allah, our creator, is giving you a message, telling you to not do something that makes you sad or hurts your feelings, or something that you don't enjoy. For anger, if, like, for the example that you used, say someone took your bike, which was your only means of transportation, and threw it either into the trash or onto the ground and broke it, and you got frustrated, which you had every right to do, instead of using that anger for like going all up into their face and saying that wasn't nice, or starting to yell at them, because that just spreads bad vibes, instead you could use that negativity and put your feelings together with that, and understand that you should not do that to someone else, because you know the feeling that you would have if you did that to someone else. I'm not saying I'm perfect and I do both of those things all the time, but yeah, that's just what I thought you could use with negative thoughts.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Mariam, for sharing this. This was very refreshing, actually. Thank you so much for this. I see. Mariam, you want to say something more? Or Ali Marmar, your hand is up. Go ahead, please.
Very quick, in addition to what Miriam's beautiful explanation was, it's a perfect, very good explanation. But at the same time, if someone takes my bike and takes away my property, whatever, I feel angry. Yes, I take the lesson from this feeling that, oh, I shouldn't do this. But at the same time, this anger asks me, go and ask the court to punish this man for his mistake. If I don't have any feeling of anger at all, I wouldn't feel the need to go to the court, ask the court, the judge, to punish this man. It means there should be no justice prevailing in the world. So I need this feeling of anger, but not to the I shouldn't use it beyond the limits of the purpose in its existence. It means go and hit the man and yell at him. But at the same time, I should use the feeling of anger for the purpose it is used. The Creator will let us know how I should use it by his message through the Prophet. Take him to the court and let the justice prevail on earth. That is, for this purpose, I need the feeling of anger, but I shouldn't use the feeling of anger in order to satisfy my ego, my egoistic desires. That is like using the tongue for just momentary pleasures, rather than appointing him as a doorkeeper for the stomach. It's a beautiful example, actually. So I have to watch out where I am employing them rather than rejecting their existence, ignoring their existence, as the Christian theology says. If someone hits you from one side of your face, one cheek, turn your other cheek. Eh? Where is justice, man? Where is justice? Oh, there should be no justice in the world. So let the transgressors take the property of everybody away. And is it the purpose in existence? So whoever feels powerful will prevail on the earth and you will always suffer. But does your consciousness accept this? It is nonsense. So justice needs to be established. So anger is needed. If someone hits at your one cheek, take him to the court. He shouldn't hit other people's cheek as well. Why do you encourage him by turning your second cheek? It is not modesty. I don't believe it is the teaching of Jesus. It is just made up story. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ali. So we need to see our feelings as messengers, listen to ourselves, look at our consciousness, seek what our consciousness is telling us, what qualities we need. So in this case, the example, seeking justice, we should go for that. And yes, so Mariam, your hand is up. You'll have the last word. Go ahead, please.
I'm so sorry. I know we're already 10 minutes over, but can I really fast read my notes?
Yeah, go ahead. Take your time.
Okay. So for my first note, for the second point was the only way to avoid access is to understand that you are made to desire. Do not overdo anything. You lose the desire or love for that thing, and you forget that it is a gift. Purpose is the only reason you do anything. Eat and drink, but do not waste by overdoing, which is what I understood from the verse. We follow the order thinking that we have a free will. We are stuck on a conveyor belt that starts somewhere and slowly brings you to another, and only the creator of that conveyor belt knows how to stop it. Everything is coming from your creator and can be taken away just as easily. With that thought in head, treat everything accordingly, with mindfulness and thankfulness. Frugality is a lifestyle that you are born with. When you do or have more than you need, you lose thankfulness for that thing. Acting in conformity of divine wisdom, that was just an important phrase that I caught during the discussion. Eat and drink while not wasting access. Never use anything in a way that is not appropriate to its wisdom. Never use anything that is not appropriate to its wisdom. Your soul needs questions. You should question the existence of anything because in doing that, you connect with your creator. You have to deny what is wrong. This is part of the program. We run away from what is negative for us. He is my Lord and I am his worshiper. Another nice phrase that I found during the discussion. The more you get, the more you want. Do not overdo your feelings. Everything in this universe helps you connect with your creator, or everything points to him. And that was my last note for the second point.
Sweet, mashallah. Thank you for that comprehensive summary. And at this stage, I think we can call it a day, inshallah. So there's a last comment I can read. Jesus also says an eye for an eye. So yes, it does not make sense No excess, even injustice. Eye for eye. No excess, even injustice. Yeah, so there is no excess at all in anything. Excess of everything is harmful, and not according to the wisdom in creation. All right, thank you. So we can conclude here.
Alhamdulillah, thank you all for your great comments. Very fruitful and lively discussion. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alim al-hakim. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you are all knowledgeable, all wise. Wa akhiru da'wahum anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin.